Hi everyone, I'm Jasdeep Mago. I'm a neuropsychologist and the co founder of a mental health organization called Invisible Illness India. And today I'm doing a collaboration with Manmukti. We are here today to talk about all the mental health issues that are being faced by the frontline healthcare providers in South Asian countries. Given the current circumstance with the pandemic, it's no surprise that all the healthcare providers around the world are facing tremendous burden on them. This can result in several issues, particularly pertaining to mental health conditions. To name a few, a lot of them are facing anxiety at this point, anxiety related to getting infected, to infecting their families. Most of them are self quarantining or self isolating away from their families in order to protect them. A lot of doctors, nurses, and other healthcare providers are facing PTSD symptoms, which is post traumatic stress disorder, concerning all the chaos and that is going on in hospitals and the choices they are being made to make at this particular time. A lot of them are facing burnout, which is just feeling just completely getting exhausted by everything that's going on emotionally, physically, mentally. Sleep disturbances, of course, having trouble with nutrition. Some of them are even infected and still working because of the current circumstance and the need of the hour that they're in. There are a lot of issues that they're facing, and today we're going to be approaching those concerns and talking about how and what they can do in order to help themselves and what the system can do in order to provide a more community-based effort in this certain concern. To begin with, we're going to be talking about what the healthcare community, like hospital staff, the leaders, the leadership can do in order to protect the mental health well being of their doctors, nurses, and the rest of their staff. So the first things first, we learn from previous experiences. History teaches us a lot, and concerning the other pandemics that took place earlier, like SARS and Ebola, a lot of doctors have written articles around the world regarding what they can do in order to create an environment that is going to be more conducive for everybody in terms of mental well-being. Good leadership, having a proper command structure, having a protocol in place helps everybody to feel like they are more grounded and secure and the rules are set, because in the times of uncertainty, it's very difficult for everyone to gather their thoughts and create decisions at that time. So it's very important to have great leadership that can give you proper protocol on how to follow, what to follow. This also helps relieve the moral injury that takes place during this time that the doctors face. Moral injury being that when you have to take a decision in terms of who's going to get treatment and who isn't, that is a burden that doctors face in times of pandemics. So it's very important that this responsibility is shared by everyone, that all doctors collectively as a community come together and decide that we in this circumstance will act in this way, and in this circumstance will act in another way. And that can only be done with great leadership, with structure and rules in place. Leadership can act and be helpful in other ways as well, by clarifying in the beginning itself that we at this point are going to have to take difficult decisions. We are going to be doing a difficult job and being in a difficult situation, and setting the ground for preparation to prepare all their whole staff that it's not going to be easy, but the responsibility is shared by all of us. This kind of shared responsibility is something that goes a long way in helping the mental health well-being of all the workers there. As a community, all the doctors, nurses, and other staff members can also come together and share their experiences with each other, even in smaller groups, just so that they can have an environment where they can talk about these difficult times and not be judged for it, and also have someone who they can relate to, empathize with. Another thing that most doctors in this circumstance can do is remember that this is the best we are doing. And again, if this is reiterated by a leader in their environment, it helps greatly in relieving the pressure that they're feeling in the moment. That this is the best we can do right now, even though the best may not mean making someone survive or saving a life, but this is the best in the given circumstance. To begin with, we're going to be talking about what the healthcare community, like hospital staff, the leaders, the leadership can do in order to protect the mental health well being of their doctors, nurses, and the rest of their staff. So the first things first, we learn from previous experiences. History teaches us a lot, and concerning the other pandemics that took place earlier, like SARS and Ebola, a lot of doctors have written articles around the world regarding what they can do in order to create an environment that is going to be more conducive for everybody in terms of mental well-being. A couple of these articles have suggested better leadership. So, in terms of so first things first, as soon as you start feeling pressure, as soon as you start feeling anxious, it's important to nip that feeling in the bud, not to wait till it builds up, piles on, and it gets really bad and you have an explosion. So it's very important to notice those signs in yourself and take a break, take a step back, and probably switch a shift with somebody. Ensure that you're not overworking, you're not burning out. Ensure that you're taking in enough nutrition at that time, getting some amount of sleep, how much ever is possible for you. So at that point, it's very important to take care of yourself before anyone else or the situation gets bad. In times like these, nurses and doctors are also facing something called emotional labor, which is where they are putting out lots of emotions like patience, empathy, but and are suppressing other emotions like frustration and anger. And it's very important for them to somewhere find a line to regulate that. And I'm just going to be suggesting something that may help, which is a simple acronym called STOP with a double P. So stop is S stands for stop, T is take a breath, O is observe your thoughts and feelings, P is pull back, take some perspective, and the second P is practice what works and then proceed. So breathe, take a moment, see how you're feeling, and then process that feeling rather than reacting to that immediately. A couple of other things that healthcare providers can do at this point to control their anxiety is focus on the here and now rather than thinking about what could happen, what may happen, what are the things that are piling on, the numbers that are coming in. Let's just calm down and focus on the here and now. That today, what am I doing right now? What can I do more right now, rather than worrying about what may happen 2 days from now, 2 weeks from now. Something very similar to that technique is also focusing on what is in my control. Asking yourself, when all the worries start coming in, ask yourself, out of these, what is in my control? So create your circle of control and focus only on your circle of control. That will make you feel more in charge and less anxious about the situation. It's very important for all of us, and especially healthcare providers at this time, to not judge your own feelings. Don't judge yourself for being anxious. Don't judge yourself for getting stressed out or feeling nervous or feeling sad. It's natural to have all of these emotions. So please accept them as they come and let them go. In the time of crisis, it's important about how we talk to ourselves in that moment. A lot of times our self-talk, the inner critique we have, is telling us, is sort of yelling at us in a negative tone. It's very important to calm that voice down inside our head and use that calming self-talk. Something that's going to tell you that, keep going. It's okay. You're doing your best. Just keep going. It's very easy to get sucked into all the negative news coming in, all the numbers that pouring in, but it's very important to stay focused on the solution rather than the problem. So having a solution focused approach is key at this point for all healthcare providers. So all doctors and nurses out there, focus on how you are providing the solution there and what you are doing to help the situation rather than what you're not being able to do. For all those of you who are in absolute self isolation away from your families, my heart goes out to you. And I just want to say that make sure that you're sleeping enough, as much as you can get, at least in the given circumstance. Keep your nutrition up. Stay in contact with your family, at least virtually, and try and not talk about the pandemic when you stay in contact with them. It's important for you to still feel like life is still normal somewhere, even if in your circumstance it isn't, but it's still normal somewhere. So stay in contact, and do not constantly discuss the pandemic with your family members, because it's not helping you feel relaxed. And right now, your well-being and for you to feel relaxed is extremely important. From the previous pandemic of Ebola, there were a couple of doctors who reported that keeping a journal had seriously helped them cope with everything that they were going through. So maybe that's something that all the doctors and nurses can try, that keeping a journal, recording your feelings, writing down what's going on may help you process what's going on more productively, because you may not have time to stop and think and let yourself be. But maybe at the end of the day, if you can write 2 sentences down, even if it's on your phone, it may help you feel better at the end of the whole situation. In the UK, there are a certain sect of doctors who have found a stress relieving activity that they practice for 10 minutes in the day, and they all do it together. It could be throwing darts, it could be going to the gym and just lifting weights for a couple of minutes, and that has sort of helped them process what's going on, relieve the anxiety, and cope with the stress that they are feeling. So at this point, if all of you health workers can really find that 10 minutes stress relieving activity, it may help you go a long way in terms of dealing with the stress. And finally, to end this series, I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you're doing, for all the effort and hours that you're putting in, staying away from your own families, risking your own lives. Thank you. The deepest, most heartfelt gratitude from all of us.